Blog Talk Radio.
Dedicate our life to this sport. We do thousands of sit-ups in camp. We run hundreds of miles, for the ones that take it serious. And we just
Minnesota. Well, what the heck is going on? I'm having a little issue here. Sorry about that. Meant to not have that intro, but that's okay. Minnesota basketball fans, little rough, choppy start here. I'm having a little internet issue here. But anyway, we are back. I shouldn't say we. Unfortunately, life got in the way. Got to do a show solo tonight. We're back with the Living in Loserville podcast. Like I said, little weird intro there. I apologize about that. Anyway, life got in the way as far as scheduling. Normally, we do the show on Monday. This is really the only time I had to fit it in. Unfortunately, co-host Aaron wasn't able to do it. Like I said, life got in the way. So we'll be back hopefully next Monday or next week for sure as a duo. But we wanted to get some content out to you this week regardless. And obviously, living in Loserville, right? It's Timberwolves and Gophers basketball. We'll talk Gophers near the end of the show, but it's going to be heavy Timberwolves, no doubt about it. Since we last spoke, the Timberwolves are a game above 500, 26 and 25. They've won 3 out of their last, 5? Because they did lose those back-to-back games. And we talked about last week how, hey, if we could just be 2-2 in these, in these 4 games, basically 2-2 and be 25 and 25. That would have been Monday. Obviously, we had a game last night. We'd be in pretty good shape, and we obviously we're 26 and 25 now, and if you look at the next 4 games, all of them winnable, but at least like 3-1. You'd hate to go 2-2. With that stretch. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to recap some of the action from the last chunk of games a little bit, give my take on a variety of things. Obviously, the last few games, the bench, especially McDaniel's and Prince. McDaniel's, definitely some recent improvement. And Prince, it seems like he's turning the corner and in a major way. Both those guys, like I said, have been improving and everything, but they're just whatever. They're finding their role, especially Prince, especially Prince. Lately, last night he had a phenomenal game in a win over Denver. So, yeah, we're going to talk about it. We had those 2 losses against Golden State and Phoenix, competitive losses. I know, some people don't like to hear that, especially without D'Lo. D'Lo left the game, the Golden State game, early in the third quarter. That didn't help things. But they did find a way to stay competitive. Same with that Phoenix game. Didn't have Pat B or D'Lo. We did get Pat Bev back, last night. So that's a good thing. D'Lo, should be returning here fairly shortly. So we're going to talk about the last few games kind of in a nutshell. Some things that I've been seeing lately, maybe a little, trade rumors in there, and then preview, what's in store. Like I said, we can really go 4-1 here in this stretch here. And then, of course, the Gophers definitely battled hard to the end against Wisconsin, but just couldn't quite get over the hump. And now, they just actually lost to Purdue. So, it is what it is. We're not really expecting a whole, too much. But, so, yeah, we're going to talk Timberwolves for a bit. It's going to be a shortened show because I am rolling solo. So it won't be, 50 minutes or anything like that. If this is your first time listening to the Living in Loserville podcast, welcome. It's available in a variety of ways. It streams live right here on blogtalkradio.com/Rope-A-Dope Radio. You don't have to go to Blog Talk and Rope-A-Dope and download the show directly there. Listen to the browser. You can find this here podcast under the Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Player FM, TuneIn, Amazon Music. We're also part of the Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network. While you're at it, why don't you head on over to thegruelingtruth.com. We also have a Living in Loserville page on Spreaker. Might want to check that out. Aaron set that up last year sometime. It's called Living in Loserville on Spreaker. He also has a podcast on there that you may find interesting. One more thing. If you're thinking about cutting the cord, or you're not quite happy, I got something for you. It's called DirecTV Stream. The prices start as low as $69.99 a month. It's the best of live TV and on-demand, no annual contracts, no hidden fees. If you upgraded the Choice or Ultimate packages, that'll give you 3 free months of HBO Max. Plus, you get to enjoy regional sports networks with no additional fees, like Bally's up here, to watch these games. And if you go to the Premier package, that'll give you HBO Max and Showtime, already included this DirecTV Stream. Okay, like I said, the music was not supposed to be there. I thought I scheduled it without it. That's the boxing one. We used to do it for the show too, but just so you know, okay? So, like I was saying, the last time that we spoke was 2 Mondays ago. Yeah, 2 Mondays ago. And we talked about going 2-2, and the first one was going to be Portland, and then beat one of the top 3 teams. Well, not top 3 anymore. We did bring in Memphis there. I think Utah's 4th now, but Utah, Phoenix, and Golden State. We talked about, all right, if we can go 2-2 during that stretch, we'd be in pretty darn good shape. And lo and behold, the Timberwolves went 2-2. Now, that Portland game at Portland, I think it's been 15 years since they won twice in a season at Portland. This game, obviously, Ant, just went off. Like, just ridiculous. 40-point game. Like I said, just went off. I mean, he was filling it up. 40 points, 9 rebounds, 5 made threes, 3 blocks, and 3 steals. And that combination with the 3 blocks and 3 steals and 5 threes made, almost a double-double there as far as the rebounds. It's the first player in NBA history to reach all those numbers in a single game, right? So that was a big win. D'Lo got that bucket that was called goaltending at the end. And, it got grimy. They tied it with that 3, but they did manage to finish it off. And anytime you get a road win, and Simmons, there was no Lillard, but Simmons has been playing good in his spot. Didn't play phenomenal that night, but, we do have to kind of preference that. But I don't know, man. Like, a win is a win there, And I was so they got the dub. I was really wondering because that's what is it? His 4th? I think it's his 4th 40-point game for Ant. He's tied with Luka and I think Durant and somebody else for 40-point games before you turn 21. I think what was it, 8 that LeBron had. Now he had an extra year in the league because he went straight to. He was that last class that went right from high school to, I was about to say college, to the NBA draft. So that helps to have an extra year. But I was really wondering, okay, we've seen this before. He has a monster game, and not just 40-point games, but just a monster game out of Ant, whether it's 38 or 33 or he goes off in the 4th quarter, whatever. And then that very next game, he usually plays pretty mediocre to sometimes just poor. And it's kind of interesting here. We're starting to see his development, although through 3 quarters, although, he was 6-6, I think, from the line. I think he was 1 of 6 from the field at half in that game. And he just, even through the 3rd quarter, it was kind of like, where you at, Ant? What's up, dude? You're going to do this again? And he even mentioned that, like, after a big game, I got to come back, strong. However, and this is where the growth comes in, down the stretch of that game, he really turned it on in that fourth quarter. Now, especially when D'Lo left, it would have been nice, and that hurts him too because, just less attention or more attention to him, but, they got to pay attention to D'Lo too, so there's less coming his way. But Towns was just getting a lot of attention, and, overall he was 2 of 11 and 8 for 18, Edwards. But you know what? He did get 6 assists. He did get to 27 points. I think he had like 13 or 14, something like that in the fourth quarter. So, and at half, the Timberwolves were up a little bit, right? Yeah, I think at half they were up just a little bit. And I did see D'Angelo get hurt. I saw him fall down anyway. I saw him hit the deck, and he was kind of holding – I couldn't really tell if it was his shin or his ankle or what. And he kind of was trying to walk it off, run it off, and I saw him stretching a lot in that – I think it was the second quarter. And obviously, maybe it tightened up at half, but he did try to give it a go early in the third quarter, and he had to leave the game. And so all things considered, like I said, I did like how they just kept it looked like it was going to get ugly. I mean, it really did. It looked like, and it did get ugly for a little bit there. It looked like we were going to get ran out of the gym, like we were going to lose by like 20 something. So I do appreciate that part, but shooting 54% from the field compared to our 44 is one thing, but they made 11 more threes than the Timberwolves Golden State did. 21 of 36, so 58.3. Yeah, that's not going to do the trick. You know what I mean? So we didn't play our best ball, but when you play an elite team and then they play pretty damn good or great, like they're on, that does make it tough. I'm not going to lie. You know what I mean? That does make it tough. And so it could have been worse. Like I said, some people don't like that. There's no – you either win or you lose. There's no in between, To me, I hear what you're saying, but we're not that advanced of a team just yet where we can at least be a little, not be a little happy that they made it a little tighter. I mean, like I said, with 10 minutes left, they got it to like 97, 91. They got it to 6 minutes left, 106 to 100. And then I think it was 109 to 103. Like they definitely tried to go, as much as they could. And Beasley, I think he just had a good game, come back 0 for 8, And, the game after that against Phoenix, once again, although the Timberwolves shot the three fine, 14 to 39, that's 36%. That's pretty good. The Suns were just on fire. Both teams shot really well, 49% for the Timberwolves, 51% from the field. But those extra 6 threes, same amount, 20 of 39 to 14 of 39, that's 51%. And then, they assist a lot more, 36 to 20. That was a little difference there, and they out-rebounded us, not necessarily on the offensive end, the points of turnovers. Once again, they were playing phenomenal. You know what I mean? And we kept getting back in that game. But it just – we couldn't close it out, man. Like I said, though, Ant was going off. I liked how we stayed with it, man. I got to admit, I do like how we stayed in that game. And over those 2 games, some sort of like ridiculous 41 of 75 or something like that, both of them. Now, Ant did have 10 assists. It was kind of funny. He didn't like playing the point guard. He made it known in the presser after. But he did have 10 assists that game. Beasley went off. Finally, he had 26 points. Of course, we start him the next night, and he proceeded to not play as well. But, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. So in those two games, didn't get the dub. On the road, back-to-back nights, were we really thinking that the Timberwolves are going to get that dub? Probably not. You know what I mean? Probably not. So it is what it is. Those are losses. I like the way we lost. Is that a thing? Because, I truly did. I liked how we grinded it out. But on to the positives, we were able to, like I said, go 2-2, something that we talked about on the show. In that Utah game, I mean, the bench really, really came alive, man. And in that third quarter, I believe, 40 points, that's the eighth 40-point quarter of the season. 4 of 8 from 3, shooting 64% from the field, and they also forced 9 Utah turnovers for 13 points. So that was huge. And that bench that night, 55 points, 23 of 30 from the field, 5 of 9 from 3, 15 assists, and 13 boards. I mean, that's literally ridiculous. But, we've been talking about the bench, and it's funny. I think it was two episodes ago, or was it last Monday? We talked about how, it's nice, even though D'Lo's not playing right now, it's nice to be able to have D'Lo, with the bench at times, but taking him out so early sometimes in the first quarter and third quarter, I'm not crazy about it. I'm not really crazy about it. And recent numbers, Edwards has played pretty good with the bench as well, something that we should take note of. But when you look at those two, Prince and McDaniel's, I mean, that Utah game, 126-106, McDaniel's didn't miss a shot. 9 of 9, 3 of 3 from 3, plus 24, had 22 points, 4 assists as well. Went to the free throw line. Of course, he hit that one too. So all those numbers in just 27 minutes. And you could see Prince, 4 of 5, 2 of 3 from 3, 10 points, 7 boards, a couple steals. Noel kind of played good early, and then it kind of fell off. Towns went off that night as far as in the starting lineup. Vanderbilt had a pretty nice night as well. But that Utah game, that was another one where you're like, all right, dude, we're really stomping them. That third quarter, though, was the key. No doubt about it. That third quarter was huge. And the continuation of the N1 games from Cat, he had a bunch of assists, he had 15, I think, in that third quarter, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, that was really nice. And of course, that's a game that you have to win. That game. And that was the triple. I almost forgot. That wasn't last night. That was the Utah game. That was a triple-double, too. It's the second triple-double. 31 points, 11 boards, and 10 assists. And even in, that Portland game, I think he had only 17. Didn't take a lot of shots. I think 7 shots, but had 17 boards and I think 4 blocks. So we're starting to see a versatile, Cat. I mean, point blank. And yes, they didn't have their 2 best players, but oh well, that's why we beat them. That's why you got to beat these teams because there's plenty of games that we don't quote unquote have all our guys too. So yeah, McDaniel's really seems like he's improving, getting comfortable, and Coach Finch did talk about how he's like, dude, and same with Prince as well. Don't worry about always catching the 3, or taking the 3, and be a set shooter. Go to the rack, switch it up. Doesn't mean you always got to finish. You can pass it if they, collapse on you. But McDaniel's is really showing himself as a finisher of late. Should he sit there and dribble 8 times and all that? No, not necessarily. But he's finishing really strong. And Prince, defensively, offensively, it just seems like he's fitting in. And we knew we had some new pieces. We were trying to figure out the rotation still. We were trying to figure out the starting lineup. A while back, we got that starting lineup, right? We talked about how we got the Ant and the D-Lo and the Pat B and the Bando and Cat. That's our starting five, which I think we went over the numbers this week or last week, whichever it was, or last week or the week before, I should say. But we can't keep that damn lineup healthy, man. Pat B goes down, then D-Lo goes down. Now, hopefully, it does seem like these are just like NBA season type things that happen, right? Neither of those guys, it doesn't, I mean, knock on wood. D-Lo's been day to day. Not like he's going to be out for a month or something, or 2 months, you know, and that's one thing that you can have the minor injuries, but right now, you know, we're still trying to just get our starting five and our rotation all the way down. It seems like we have it now, but as a team, between the COVID stuff where the bench got to play a lot, and then recently, especially these 2 games, I'd say in the last 5-6 games, at least 3 of those games, the bench really stood up. Noel's kind of fallen off a little bit. He has had a little back stuff. Not falling off. He'll play good for like a half, and then the second half he won't play as good or whatever. But, you know, Beasley's still going to be Beasley, as we know. But, you know, he actually had a good night last night. But it's nice, and this is just to finish my thought, it's nice to have, like, the bench in with just bench players. Now, you're not always going to have that, of course, and you got to kind of rotate the big 3. Yeah, you want to play them as much as you can together, but, you know, you want to make sure we're able to keep scoring. In January, now that we're out of January, can't believe it's February 2nd, but our offense, and I'm almost positive that was last week where we talked about the offense, and it just finished strong. So offensively, defensively, it's all coming together. But I really think, you know, Prince is starting to turn that corner, man. I really do. And last night, really slow start to the game overall. I think they were down like 17-10, kind of slowly but surely got back into it. Vando had it going real early. He had like, I think, 18 points. Didn't he lead? I think he led scorers at half. Pretty sure. Cat was going off. Very assertive last night. And in the first quarter, Denver already had 9 turnovers. And I think it was 30-28. And actually, I think Prince, he almost had like a 3/4 court heave last night that almost went in. I remember making that little note. But yeah, Reed had a couple of dunks. He was going off. I think back-to-back dunks. He hit a 3. It was the first 3-pointer, and I knew it. You know, he hadn't been doing good, but it was when he hit that first 3-pointer, Nas. That was only the 7th 3-pointer he's hit since Christmas. But not long after that, it was, you know, Prince hit a 3. It was 41-30 with 9 minutes left in the second. The bench was already had the advantage, 27-5. And Prince was already up to 3 for 3 from threes. Nas had a dunk, and then a minute later, had another dunk. 12-0 run at 60-37. Vando, you know, dunking again, scoring again. At half, 69-51. The Timberwolves late in that second quarter are already up to 6 blocks. And, you know, Cat was like second half dropping dimes. You know, he didn't have a ton of points at that time, 14 points, but had 6 rebounds, 6 assists. The score was, there was another end one by Cat. I think that forced the timeout. 79-5, pretty early on in that third quarter. The bench outscoring, I think this is sometime in the second half, 44-9. Prince hit another 3. And he did the sleep tight motion. That was pretty funny. Or go to sleep, whatever. 100-78, though, at the end of that. And it just, Taurean Prince 6 threes. Great team win overall. And let's not forget, the last time Denver was on like a 12-game winning streak, and Ant had like a 38-point game, just went off. I think that's the night he hit like 10 of 14 or something like that from three. He went off. So that was 12. I think it was 12 in a row that they had won in that Denver game. I'm saying, because obviously that was last night. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they had been on a nice little run of late, and they had bumped up. Let's see, actually, let me see if I'm not bullshit here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, they had won 5 in a row, and they had just beat down Milwaukee, 136-100. So the Timberwolves get it done last night, 130-115. Like I said, like just played really good. You know, Towns had a just solid game, kind of slowly but surely. Only in 28 minutes had 24, 10, and 7. Pat B only played 15 minutes because he was going to be on a minutes restriction anyway, but he actually still in 15 minutes because he got 3 fouls right away. I think he had 5 fouls overall. 11 points, 5 assists. Still, that's pretty damn good. 18 and 9 and 2 steals for Vando. Prince, though, 8 of 12, 6 of 9 from 3, 9 boards, a couple of steals, couple of assists. Naz Reid, like I mentioned, 12 points, 5 boards. Beasley kind of got hot late, went 4-9 from 3. That's the only thing he hit, actually, was 4 threes. That's kind of funny. Noel did pretty good, had some assists. McLaughlin, I forgot to mention him. He had 7 assists, and he played pretty damn well. So another nice win for the Timberwolves, and sitting at 26-25, it's crazy to think how many times we haven't been that, even close to 500 at this time frame. There's actually SB Nation at 26-25. The last time they were above 500 in February or later was in 2018 with that Jimmy team. The only player on the squad left, and it was another, like I said last night, another big bench. And just the rest of the team. Ant had 5 points. Like I mentioned, Pat B barely played. He played really good. But at halftime, Cat and Ant had 13 points. The rest had 56. So they're really, really stepping up. Yeah, at that time, the last 17 seasons, 500 or better, they flashed this during the game. At the same time, in February, 31-19 that year with Jimmy Butler, but yeah, 26-25 now. So you gotta love it. You know what I'm saying? If you look at maybe the Kings have about the same schedule as us, but if you look at the Lakers, the Clippers, Spurs, they have tougher schedules down the stretch. Now, sometimes you play a tough team like Utah, even though they've been struggling lately, and they're missing some key players. So that happens too. But if you look at it, I'm not going to say an easier schedule than some of these teams we're battling with at the back half of the standings to make the playoffs, but let's say maybe a less difficult. At this point, they flashed this stat too. At this point in the season, the defensive rating is 10th in the league. Opposing field goal, 12th. Opposing 3.8. Last year in those same ones from defensive rating, 28th, 28th, and 30. So it's really coming around. But when you look at this bench, or just overall, look at just the team game. It just, Nas had 12 and 5, 2 blocks. You look down the line, and it's crazy how deep this team right now is in playing like that, too. If you look at that over-under, Vegas over-under had us at 33.5 wins wins away with 31 games left to get there. And I told you about that month of January and how the offense had been ticking. Well, now that we know, the month's over, 119.7. They actually flashed this during the game. So they put up 130. I wouldn't doubt if it's over 120. So you have the Nuggets at 116 basically a game in January. The Suns at basically 116, pretty close. Nets 115 and 114.5 are the Hawks, but the Timberwolves, before that score was added in, 119.7 per game. So we knew that the offense was going to come around. Didn't quite know that it was going to come around this quick. But, yeah, man, if we can kind of just keep with that defense of intensity, we're definitely going to make the playoffs. Knock on wood. Now, trade rumors, been hearing a variety of them. Robert Covington would be great here. If you look back at that trade, the Covington trade, and what it brought in, man, we really cashed in on that. However, so Covington signed me up. Sign me up for having Covington on this team, whether he's in the starting lineup or not. I don't care. I'd like him on the team again. I really like him. But today, Jake Fisher from JakeFisher.com. Now, I don't know. He said the Timberwolves are exploring trade avenues involving Beasley, which is no surprise. And he even mentioned Patrick Beverley. Now, as we know, it does sound like he did have his people reach out to our people, the Timberwolves, and try to get an extension done. He's obviously obviously very valuable to our team, but also another team. A lot of people just kind of think Ant and Edwards. Did I just say Ant and Edwards? Cat and Ant. Cat and Edwards is what I was trying to say, are untouchable. Everybody else you can trade possibly. You don't want to trade a bunch of people, but you can. So that's just something to think about. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. But if we can find a way to get Covington, that 3 and D with that length, he could, man. So, and when you look at this schedule, and obviously we normally do the show on Monday. So I remember talking about last week how we got another stretch here. And it's basically, it breaks down to 4 games, right? It breaks down to 4 games. And really, since we beat Denver, this is how we were going to break it down to you on Monday, because obviously, Tuesday game, there was there's 3 games in there, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday before we do another show, right? And I was just thinking kind of out loud saying, 2-1 in those games. It'd be nice to be 2-1 in those games. Beat Denver, and then at least beat Detroit once. We're past that now, obviously. And if you put the 5 games together, Denver, and then 2 with Detroit and 2 at Sacktown, both of them at Sacktown, back-to-back nights too. We already got 1 win, right? So all of a sudden, in that 5-game stretch, 4-1 is doable. That would be, we already got 1 with Denver, and then losing only 1 of those next 4 games. Now, I think if you're going to sweep one of those series, Detroit or Sacramento, I don't know. I think Detroit's, it's more doable to sweep them because Sacramento still has talent. Now, we don't know what the trade deadline will be. When what they'll do, we know when the trade deadline is going to be, but we don't know what they're going to be doing at that time. So they could be having guys out. They could have made a trade and we catch them on the, hey, they don't got enough guys tonight type thing. So I don't know. The point is, Sac can they have enough talent where they can just go off one night and beat you. So am I guaranteeing we're going to win those next 4 games? Detroit, Sac, no. Can you say we're capable of it? Yeah, definitely. But even 3-1 would be 4-1, and then 5 of the last 6 because, that Utah win too. And my point is, after this little run here, it'll tighten back up. Teams like Chicago and Charlotte, and Memphis, and Philly, who's hot, Cleveland, who's hot, and Golden State before we go back to one of these nice stretches. If we could get a couple games over 500, then we don't have to we got that 6th spot comes into play a lot quicker. That's what's nice about beating Denver. They're in front of us. But if we could, get a couple games above 500, if you can get 3 games above 500, then you lose back-to-back games. You're not way under 500 again, or 2 games under 500, and then you're not moving from the 7th spot to the 9th spot to the 8th spot. Lose a game, back to the 9th spot. Don't play, you move up to the 8th randomly. You win a game, you're up to the 7th. We can create separation is my point here. And this is when you have to beat the teams to separation. We did it last time with the Houston back-to-back OK City and then the Clippers. We got to do it this time, man. Like I said, if we can go 4-1 in that stretch, we already got to win, but at least 3-2. We have to, and that would be kind of a disappointment, if we went 2-2 in that stretch. So we'll see. But overall, no big complaints. We just need D'Lo back, and like I said, to keep that starting 5 intact somehow. You know what I mean? As far as the Gophers, just kind of quick wrap that stuff up and then get out of here. The first, even going back to the Ohio State game, the rebounding was just it was just tough. It was just, we already have an issue with it. It was a major issue, especially in that game. We still didn't have Curry back, but they stayed with them. It was a very close game at half. Ohio State started pulling away 38-30, then 48-37, and I think we cut it to 50-43, and never could quite get under like 8 points, maybe 7 points. But the rebounding, 48-22. And the starters, I think Battle struggled. That was his first game back. I think he was 5-18. But we just couldn't get it going, basically. But that Wisconsin game, I did like how they played in it. They stayed in that game the whole time. Could have maybe won that game, if we're being honest, but unfortunately just fell short. But it's really hard to be like overly critical with the Gophers this year, if we're being honest. You know what I mean? Because of the scenario, but that's 66-60, I think it was. That was rough, man. Curry is back. He played pretty well. Already playing 34 minutes. Battle kind of bounced back nicely. Patrick Willis, or not Patrick, what am I talking about? Peyton Willis, had a good game. We just, we didn't get to the free throw line enough. But we probably played good enough to win that game, though. I'll say that. We probably played good enough to win that game. It was at Wisconsin, though. What are you going to do? And like I said, there's not much to talk about when it comes to that because, you're kind of building for next year. You know what I mean? That's basically what you're doing. I mean, there's just really no way around it, And I hope that we can bring, we're probably going to have to bring in some more, like a one and done. And I'm not talking about somebody that goes to the pros and whatnot. But when you look at it, they have 8 losses in the Big Ten. And all of them are in the top 30 in the net ratings, in the rankings, So, they got their starting lineup back. And hopefully down the stretch, they can, close out some of these games. I mean, like I said, the development's still happening. The reps together with some of these guys that are going to be here for a while. The NIT, I want to get into the NIT. It is nice that Peyton Willis, is going out with a fight, with his last year. But yeah, we lost to Purdue pretty handedly. It looks like I didn't get to see it tonight, 88-73. But at Iowa, always tough. Nebraska's not an easy place to play, but Penn State, Nebraska, Penn State, Northwestern, Indiana's pretty good, but that's at home. Maryland just got a nice win, Northwestern. So, hopefully we collect some wins enough to where we actually get into the NIT, no messing around, okay? That's going to do it. Hopefully we'll be back next Monday. Either way, though, we will, we'll find a way to bring some content to you. And, we'll be back as a duo with Aaron next week. So big, couple games coming up for the Timberwolves. We'll see if they do anything at the trade deadline. Peace.